The world is like a ride at an amusement park, and when you choose to go on it, you think it's real, because that's how powerful our minds are. And the ride goes up and down and round and round. It has thrills and chills, and it's very brightly colored, and it's very loud, and it's fun for a while. Some people have been on the ride for a long time, and they begin to question, is this real, or is this just a ride? And other people have remembered, and they come back to us, and they say, hey, don't worry, don't be afraid, ever, because this is just a ride.
He was the type of guy that you'd watch him as a comedian and you'd kind of feel bad. You'd kind of go, you know, I should be doing more of this kind of thing. I really should be telling the truth more often.
I'm the little dark poet. That's who I am.
Bill had a lack of concern. He wasn't concerned with what the audience thought, who would boo him. He wasn't concerned with how it would affect his business. He just said what he wanted to say.
I said to Bill, you know, you're just that far from being a preacher. And he said, I am a preacher.
My voice was not heard. The questions were not asked that I wanted to see asked.
He's really an ass-kicking comedian, you know, the best kind, the only kind that matters. And when jokes mean, the jokes are meant to kill.
How many, quickly, how many non-smokers are here tonight? Non-smokers, by round of applause. Let's hear non-smokers. Good. Because I have something I want to tell you, and I'm glad you've all conglomerated here tonight. Saved me some breath, which is obviously very short. I'm going to tell you non-smokers something right now that I know for a fact you don't know, and I delight in telling my brothers things they don't know, particularly when they're true, which this is. Ready? Non-smokers, ready? Drum roll. Non-smokers die every day. Sleep tight.
Bill, like many good artists, have an inner voice, and for whatever reason, some people can hear their inner voice and others can't. And I think his was one of questioning what was going on around him, from religion to politics to sexuality, drug use, evolution. He was just a very engaged person who felt compelled to make comedic chestnuts out of all these complex issues, and he was clearly gifted at it, and challenged not only his audiences, but I think other comedians.
It's time that we as God's people took a stand and said to our kids, no, no!
A lot of Christians wear crosses around their necks. You think when Jesus comes back, he ever wants to see a cross? It's kind of like going up to Jackie Onassis with a little sniper rifle pendant, you know. Hey, Jackie, just thinking of John.
For the last 12 years with Reagan and Bush, we have had fundamentalist Christians in the White House. Fundamentalist Christians who believe the Bible is the exact Word of God, including that wacky fire and brimstone Revelations ending, have had their finger on the button for 12 years. Tell me when, Lord. Tell me when. Let me be your servant, Lord. Christian. That was weird too, for that Robert Alton Harris execution. It was kind of weird. A lot of people were confused and to see Christians out front supporting the death penalty. It seemed ironic to a lot of people who actually know the words of Christ. But I didn't think it was ironic at all, because after all, if it weren't for capital punishment, you know, we'd have no Easter. So. 3-day weekend where I come from.
The first time we heard about Bill performing on stage was at our church camp when he was 13 years old. And I heard about it from some of the ladies in my Sunday school class who asked me if Bill had gone to church camp, which he had. And then one of the ladies told me that her son said that he was the funniest thing he had ever heard. So after Sunday school, I went to our assistant pastor who had been the camp pastor and asked him what Bill did. And he said, well, Mary, he is very funny, but you may look at how you raised him.
The Prince of Peace is back, but he's pissed off. You, pilot.
I couldn't understand why Bill used the F word so much. And I think I said, well, Bill, I don't hear Bob Hope using it or any other well-known comedian. And, of course, he didn't like that, and he didn't like Bob Hope too much, or anybody that I would mention. So, he took issue with that statement.
I find it ironic that people who are against sexual thoughts are generally these fundamentalist Christians who also believe you should be fruitful and multiply. Seems like they would support sexual thoughts, perhaps even a centerfold in the Bible. Miss Deuteronomy. Turn-offs, floods, locusts, smokers. I actually did that joke in Alabama, right? These 3 rednecks met me after the show, man. Hey, buddy, come here. Hey, Mr. Comedian, come here. Hey, buddy, we're Christians. We don't like what you said. I said, then forgive me.
I was in Nashville, Tennessee last year. After the show, I went to a Waffle House. I'm not proud of it. I was hungry. And I'm alone, I'm eating, and I'm reading a book, right? Waitress walks over to me. Hey, what you reading for? Sound like the weirdest question you've ever heard? Not what am I reading, but what am I reading for? Well, damn it, you stumped me. Why do I read? Well, I guess I read for a lot of reasons, and the main one is so I don't end up being a waffle waitress.
Bill and I both shared the love of the South and its sweetness and just really originality. It's like one of the few really still original places, I think, in America. And Bill knew that. But anytime you love something that much, you see all of its flaws tenfold.
But then this trucker in the next booth gets up, stands over me, and goes, well, looks like we got ourselves a reader. What the is going on here? It's not like I walked into a Klan rally in a Boy George outfit. Damn it, it's a book!
He was that odd sort of person that could sort of hate where he came from, but love it too. I mean, some of his most savage attacks would be on religious or things in the South, yet that's where he came from. I mean, so he could go home, he could ultimately love it and hate it at the same time.
And I'll tell you something, too, that's starting to annoy me about UFOs, the fact that they cross galaxies or universes to visit us and always end up in places like Fife, Alabama. Maybe these aren't super intelligent beings, you know what I mean? Maybe they're like hillbilly aliens. Some intergalactic Jode family or something, you know. Don't y'all want to land in New York or L.A.? Nah, we just had a long trip. We're going to kick back and whittle some.
Please put it together. Give a warm Austin welcome for Dwight Slade. Thank you. Thank you very much. Keep a nice applause going for Louie, ladies and gentlemen. Fresh out of rehab.
Well, in 1978, the Comedy Workshop opened up in Houston, Texas, and it was very exciting for us because we were 15 years old, and this was what we were waiting for. But the support for our parents to leave our homes on a school night and go to a nightclub was unrelentless. We couldn't do it. We were grounded basically for the rest of our adolescence. And the only way to do it was to sneak out. So Kevin Booth would drive up, Bill would sneak out of his window, and drive over to my house. I would sneak out of my house. We would get in the car and go down to the workshop and do our sets under the pretenses that we were at the library.
It was very strange. I mean, we were all underage. In fact, I think Bill and Dwight had to have some kind of a special permit to be allowed to perform. So it was very weird going from our high school keg parties and everything to this adult world. And then is what really made it weird was when Bill kind of started to rule this adult world, and he wasn't even old enough to be drinking alcohol yet, and all of a sudden he was blowing the other older comedians off the stage.
I knew he was writing these jokes, but I did not know what that meant. And one time I was home from college, I guess, and he said, come down to the Comedy Workshop, which was a place in Houston. And I said, well, why? I'd never been to a comedy club. It just wasn't a big thing. And he said, well, just come down there tonight. So I went down that night, and I couldn't believe it. He was a superstar already. He was like 15 years old, maybe 14 years old. And there was a sold-out show, lines waiting to get in. And that was my brother. I couldn't believe it.
I love running the bum gauntlet down every street. God, I hate those guys, man. Very idea they want me to just give them the hard-earned money my folks send to me every week. Leech. Get a job. My dad works 8 hours a day for this quarter. I mean, the nerve. At least give me a story. You know, they stopped giving stories. Remember when they used to give you a rap? What about, give me a good one. Hey, man, look. Hey, man, I'm like a quarter short for a ticket to Atlantic City, and I'm fighting Mike Tyson. Go get him. I love it. Every time Tyson fights, there's always some joker who goes, hey, for that much money, I'd fight him. Yeah, you'd have a lot of fun spinning it in a wheelchair, too, buddy. Get some pot-bellied redneck in the ring with Tyson. Just, are you feeling rich, man? Tell me when you feel rich. He goes, oh! After the fight, he just, wow, who's that rich dude?
He really wasn't a comedian when I met him. He was starting to be a comedian. I mean, I knew him, 12, 13 years. He was still a kid. He was in high school, and I was playing in Austin, and he would come and listen. And, you know, when you're a comedian, you've been on TV, inevitably the comedy club owner always says, oh, there's a group of people in the city that, would you talk to them about comedy? Okay, so one of the afternoons you get on, you talk to them about comedy. I think he had a comedy workshop at this club, and I've always find when you're teaching comedy, the one who sort of gets up and discusses and leaves and thinks you're a jerk is usually the best comedian in the room.
What I liked about Bill was here is a guy that nobody knew, myself included, who had a swagger to his demeanor, both physical and emotional swagger. And it was, I just liked that for no good reason, for no justifiable reason. I'm cocky, you know, nobody knows me, too bad. You know, it was just kind of like you could almost see him sort of just turning his shoulder to the audience.
No, I've got material planned. I didn't say I'd take quest. Okay? I said if you wanted to hear it, I'd stay. If this is I'm not a jukebox. Boy, I don't know how much AIDS scares y'all, but I got a theory. The day they come out with a cure for AIDS, guaranteed one shot, no problem, cure, on that day, there's going to be in the streets, man. It's over! Who are you? Come here! What's your name, baby? No, it's over. Yeah, woo! Man, if you can't get laid on that day, cut it off.
He didn't seem to mind what people thought of him. That never seemed to really matter. And even in the early years in high school, he wasn't really affected by peer pressure or anything like that at all. That
He's never
That always
worried about
amazed me.
offending people either.
No.
Offending people is not something.
It was their problem.
Yeah.
If they were offended, then they just didn't get it or something.
I was watching Terminator 2, and I'm thinking to myself, these are the most amazing stunts I've ever seen. $100 million it cost to make this film. How are they ever going to top these stunts in a movie again? There's no way. Unless they start using terminally ill people. Hear me out. As stuntmen in pictures. What? You know, some of you probably think that's cruel, don't you? Oh, it's cruel. Terminally ill stunt people. Ew. How cruel. You know what I think cruel is? Leaving your loved ones to die in some sterile hospital room surrounded by strangers. That. Put them in the movies. What? You want your grandmother dying like a little bird in some hospital room? Her translucent skin so thin you can see her last heartbeat work its way down her blue vein? Or do you want her to meet Chuck Norris?
He was always interested in altered states, expanded awareness, ever since I knew him. I mean, we meditated and we did flotation tanks, sensory deprivation, all these things. And someone had told him that mushrooms cause these great altered states, so he wanted to try it.
I believe that God left certain drugs growing naturally upon our planet to help speed up and facilitate our evolution. Okay, not the most popular idea ever expressed. Either that or you're real high and agreeing with me in the only way you can right now.
We reached the point of realizing that the way to trip would be to go out into the woods and just, you know, be at one with nature. And that's when Bill stopped, I don't know, trying to combine the drugs and performing. And it was like two different things. I mean, it would almost be like a little religious quest. We'd go off out into my family's ranch or wherever and have our experience, and then he would come back to his life and try to reassimilate it into his comedy.
We got pulled over tripping on acid one night, pulled over by the cops. Don't recommend it. Cops don't appreciate fish driving around. They frown on that. Long night, man. Cops were tapping on this window. We're staring at them in this mirror. How tall are you? It's a little cop. Look at him. How does he drive that big car?
I think a lot of people enjoyed the fact that Bill said, listen, I indulged in drugs, and I had a great time doing it. You know, I didn't lose my house, I didn't lose my car. I mean, it's always this black and white thing. You know, it's either drugs are bad or, you know, and smoking is bad, but Bill kind of showed you, well, there's a lot of gray area in there.
How about a positive LSD story? That would be newsworthy, don't you think? Anybody think that just once, to hear a positive LSD story? Today, a young man on acid realized that all matter is merely energy condensed to a slow vibration, that we are all one consciousness experiencing itself subjectively. There is no such thing as death. Life is only a dream, and we are the imagination of ourselves. Here's Tom with the weather.
high school, well, you know, most kids were going out to bowling alleys and dances. Bill wanted to go to porno movies and things like that, so we said, okay, let's go to a porno movie. So Bill calls up the porno place and says, what's the movie playing tonight? And
Babylon Pink.
Babylon Pink was the one that stuck in our memory. And then Bill calls back and says, what's it about? He was serious. And the guy said, well, it's about a woman that works in an office and everyone has sex with her. Oh, okay, we'll be right down. So, and we were underage, so we had to look older, so we wore coats and ties. So we showed up at the porno movie in our Sunday best with our popcorn, and
I was a little leery about the popcorn at the porno theater. But Bill felt okay about it.
Bill thought it was all right.
Supreme Court of the United States says pornography is any act that has no artistic merit and causes sexual thought. That's their definition. No artistic merit causes sexual thoughts. Boy, that sounds like every commercial on television to me. You know, when I see those two twins on that Double Mint commercial, I'm almost embarrassed to tell you all this. I'm not thinking of gum. Double your pleasure. Yeah, honey, where's the Wrigley's? I feel like chewing something.
What would always be surprising is when we go see Bill perform, is he would always have like a new twist that he didn't have for us, you know, as friends hanging out and talking, and he would give it one extra edge, and he would also bring his own personal life into it a lot of times, and we, you know, first time that I ever saw Bill like talking about masturbation on stage, I mean, I was just blushing for him. I couldn't believe it, but look how far we've come now.
Doesn't every commercial blatantly use sex to sell the product? I believe most of them do. Here is the commercial they'd like to do, I guarantee you. We may see this one day yet, but this is the ultimate television commercial they want to do. Here's the woman's face, beautiful. Camera pulls back, naked breast. Camera pulls back, she's totally naked, legs apart, 2 fingers right here. And it just says, drink Coke. Now, I don't know the connection here, but Coke is on my shopping list this week. So, Snickers, Dr. Pepper. No, I don't know the connection. Yes, I am buying these products. My teeth are rotten out of my head. I'm glued to my television. More Snickers, more Coke.
When he was up in high school, they used to give him 5 minutes before class to get all that out of his system so they could proceed with the classes. We heard that, so.
Well, one of the teachers called me and asked me if I could help her get her class back from Bill. She said I told him he could have 5 minutes while I was checking the roll, and she said, I can't get it back. I said, that's your problem. You shouldn't have let him get up there.
You ever watch that show, The Love Connection? Is that spooky or what? Adult human beings on national television groveling for dates. Have some self-respect. Stay home and masturbate. That show makes masturbation look like a spiritual quest, doesn't it?
He was taking fully the role of the kind of the witch doctor in front of the audience. I mean, really, you got a performance going on here, and it's like a big, giant exorcism of all the evil shit that's inside of us, that poisons us day to day to day. It just adds up, gets locked into our brains. We can't get it out. We don't know what to do with it. TV talk shows aren't going to help it. The news isn't. Nothing's going to help it. You just need a guy to get up there and just take you by the lapels and shake the shit out of you.
I am Goat Boy. What do you want, Goat Boy? Big old smelly, shaggy thing. Goat Boy is here to please you. How? Tie me to your headboard.
Bill and I's whole relationship was based around, like, you know, writing wacky songs and taking these photographs of ourselves, like trying to make ourselves look like rock stars. I really thought Bill and I were going to go on to be in a band together forever, and then he decided to be a stand-up comic, and so he was kind of split on that thing. But
he always wanted to be a musician. I mean, rock star,
Yeah.
I think, was the #1 thing.
He was fascinated with, you know, Alice Cooper and rock music and you know, the Jimi Hendrix story, and he was Kiss. He was fascinated by those theatrics and that power.
I'd hesitate to call Bill Hicks a rock and roll comedian, but what I would say about him is that he has managed very successfully to take the things that appeal to teenage and 20-something audiences in pop music out of the records and put them into a live comedy routine. The reason a lot of young middle-class people didn't used to be interested in comedy at all was because the comedians weren't talking about anything that they were interested in, and the reason they were into music instead was because the musicians were. Bill Hicks has taken a lot of those concerns and he's put them into humorous situations, and that's why he has a rock and roll appeal.
It's great to be here. I thank you. I've been on the road doing comedy for 10 years now, so bear with me while I plaster on a fake smile and plow through this one more time.
Most comedians perform in front of television audiences and don't have a life in front of an audience, a real long life in front of the public. But he was performing like, you know, 250, 280 days a year, he told me. And therefore, he really was good, masterful with an audience, at ease with an audience. He could think on his feet.
By the way, if anyone here is in advertising or marketing, kill yourself. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Just a little thought. I'm just trying to plant seeds. And maybe one day they'll take root. I don't know. You try. You do what you can. Kill yourselves. Seriously, though, if you are, do. No, really. There's no rationalization for what you do, and you are Satan's little helpers, okay? Kill yourself. Seriously. You're the ruiner of all things good. Seriously. No, this is not a joke. He's going to be a joke coming. There's no joke coming. You are Satan's spawn, filling the world with bile and garbage. You are and you are us. Kill yourself. It's the only way to save your soul. Kill yourself.
Wasn't like a guy who just comes up and stands at a mic and lays out one-liners, but rather that there's this sort of tornado moving around the stage and cycling around and throwing all this energy out at you.
Something about being alive on stage that Bill had, that you knew that guy was constantly thinking and like a caged tiger, you know, ready to explode. And that's, at the risk of being corny, that's entertainment.
I know what all the marketing people are thinking right now, too. Oh, you know what Bill's doing? He's going for that anti-marketing dollar. That's a good market. He's very smart. Oh, man, I am not doing that. You f***ing evil bags.
For all the talk about Bill being like Hendrix or Dylan or Jim Morrison or Lenny Bruce, it was Jesus Bill wanted to be. He wanted to save us all. But Bill got freeze-framed in the scene where Jesus went through the temple and said, "This is my Father's house and you've turned it into a den of thieves." Because that's what Bill always wanted to do. He wanted to be Christ at his angriest.
Ooh, the anger dollar. Huge. Huge in times of recession. Giant market. Bill's very bright to do that. I personally do not believe in burning the flag. It's a personal belief, but I'll tell you something. I think people are overreacting. Oh, just a little bit. Hey, buddy, my daddy died for that flag. Well, I bought mine. Sorry. You know, they sell them at Kmart for $3. You're in, you're out, brand new flag. No violence was necessary. Hey, buddy, my daddy died in the Korean War for that flag. What a coincidence. My flag was made in Korea.
America is a place that you love and you hate at the same time, because everything is here, everything possible, every possible evil and every possible good. And it's very frustrating for somebody like Bill, whose antennas are always open, and he's lays himself open, his heart and his mind, to see all the hypocrisy and contradictions of what we could really be and what we are.
Comedians are one of the few people around who really have license to tell the truth, you know. Movies don't really have it, and certainly television personalities don't really have it. Comedians do, because ultimately they're only responsible to themselves. They're not responsible to a studio or a network or a corporate entity, you know. And for that reason, they have probably more license to tell the truth than anybody. And most of them don't take it. Bill took it, and you have to admire that about him.
It was a very stressful time for me, the war. I'll tell you why. I was in the unenviable position of being for the war, but against the troops. And not the most popular stance I've ever taken on an issue, I must say. I don't choose wisely always, and yet I'm committed.
I had a very, very big, one of the top comedians in this country tell me during the Iraq War that they couldn't do it. They said they wouldn't put their neck on the line. They were against the war and they wouldn't say anything, because they basically felt that you watch those little bags of money just fly away. It's like, kiss your career goodbye.
First of all, this needs to be said. There never was a war. How can you say that, Bill? Well, a war is when two armies are fighting. So you see, right there, I think we can all agree that it wasn't exactly a war. And Bush, President Bush, complete surprise, he turned into a demon, man. When he was first president, they called him the wimp president. I mean, this was the cover of Newsweek. Wimp president. Apparently, this stuck in this guy's craw. Guy turned into a f***ing demon, man. We surrender. Not good enough. We run away. Too little, too late. We're having way too much fun. Those guys were in hog heaven out there. You understand, man? They had a big weapons catalog opened up. What's G12 do, Tommy? Well, it says here it destroys everything but the fillings in their teeth. Helps us pay for the war effort. Well, pull that one up. Pull up G12, please. Cool. What's G13 do?
See, I think Bill said a lot of things that were so true that, you know, they just couldn't deal with it. I mean, you can't, some people can't take but so much truth. And he would never, with me, I would tell you truths, but then I'd let you off and I'd tell you something real, real funny and make you laugh. But I'd make you think again and make you laugh. See, you know, a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. But wasn't no spoonful of sugars with Bill.
I love talking about the Warren Commission. I love talking about the Kennedy assassination as well. The reason I do is because I'm fascinated by it. I'm fascinated that our government could lie to us so blatantly, so obviously, for so long, and we do absolutely nothing about it. I think that's interesting in what is ostensibly a democracy. Sarcasm. Come on in. People say, Bill, quit talking about Kennedy, man. It was a long time ago. Just let it go. All right? It's a long time ago. Just forget it. I'm like, all right, then don't bring up Jesus to me. As long as we're talking shelf life here, you know.
I brought him to the attention of the Letterman show back in the mid-'80s, I suppose. He was still too far off the wall for the Tonight Show, which was the more mainstream show. And the Late Night with David Letterman was sort of the crazy take-a-chance program. And he was well suited to that. I remember bringing him down and Morty, the producers, and they would hear him and go, Bill, this is good, but can you change just, you'd go in these fits of rage. No, I can't, it's the essence of the bit. You know, we'd have these, I said, look, just get on TV. We just do it, and we go back and forth. And then he went on to do, I guess, 11 or 12 Letterman appearances, and was pretty, very successful.
Our next guest is a very intense and very funny young man who has been on this program a number of times, and he's back again tonight. He has his own HBO One Night Stand program, which premieres this Saturday. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Bill Hicks. Bill!
We had heard of him, and he came on the show, and it did very well, as I recall, his first time. And that was great for us, because we're always looking for somebody to come on and just blow the roof off the place. And so we thought, this is great. We have a new guy here who has been very effective. And then, of course, you worry, well, can he do it again? You know, will the subsequent shot hold up? And over the years, and I don't know how long he was with us on the old show, but he never disappointed.
I learned a lot about women. I think I learned exactly how the fall of man occurred in the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden, and Adam said one day, wow, Eve, here we are at one with nature, at one with God. We'll never age, we'll never die. And all our dreams come true the instant that we have them. And Eve said, yeah, it's just not enough, is it?
We always push the envelope by seeing, okay, just how much of a you attitude can you have without going over the line on network television? And that was always the thrill of presenting him.
I can't quote you club owners or television executives by name, but I know that the nature of what Bill did was not universally applauded and accepted, because it did challenge the status quo and might upset certain political sensibilities in the audience and in the corporate structures.
When his stuff was taken off the air for Letterman, he wrote me a 32-page letter, handwritten, a sort of a cri de coeur. He couldn't understand the situation just because, you know, he was a free spirit. The whole point of it was a joke. These jokes had import, but it was the prescribing of his freedom which so offended him.
Well, our relationship with Bill Hicks came to kind of a peculiar ending, made all the more peculiar by the man's death. And I have personal regrets about how our relationship developed prior to his death. So it makes me doubly sad that he's now not around so that we can, I think, correct mistakes that were made on his behalf. So I feel a personal sense of regret regarding that.
And what it did also do was give him a more material for his belief, correct, in my view, that it was that television worked to control the society, to keep the culture credulous, to keep it from thinking, to enchant it, literally, to spellbind it. And his job, as he saw it, was to break the spell.
Go back to bed, America. Your government has figured out how it all transpired. Go back to bed, America. Your government is in control again. Here's American Gladiators. Watch this. Shut up. Go back to bed, America. Here's American Gladiators. Here is 56 channels of it. Watch these pituitary retards bang their f***ing skulls together and congratulate you on living in the land of freedom. Here you go, America. You are free to do as we tell you. You are free to do as we tell you.
I'm a heavy smoker. I go through about 2 lighters a day now. And is that a lot? You can't imagine how thrilled I was, any smoker, to be, to find out there's a different warning on each pack. Mine say, warning, smoking may cause fetal injury or premature birth. Found my brand.